So what we're going to do in this lesson is we're going to take a look at our patterns in the key of G major now instead of C major. And basically it's also the key of E natural minor, just like in the key of C. It's also really the key of A natural minor. That's why we're taking a look at the natural minor 1 octave scales and the C major 1 octave scales. So because that's what we're going to be playing in major keys and minor keys, so we want to take a look at those. But just for simplicity reasons, we're going to call these the patterns of G major, just like we did with C. We didn't call them the patterns of C major and A natural minor. We just call them the patterns of C major. So we're going to call these the patterns of G major. I'm going to take a look at the very first pattern. So let me bring the camera down and we'll get started. So again, we're going to take a look at the third pattern, and here's the third pattern again. Now if you don't have that down, you're not really able to go through that very fluidly. You know, you haven't practiced the A natural minor and the C major 1 octave scales. Go back to that lesson and work on that before you even touch any of this. You got to get those down pretty well. You don't have to go through this like perfectly, like really quick or anything, but you have to have a good handle on it before you come over here and attempt this. So assuming you have, let's go ahead and move on here. So as we talked about already, we have our 1 octave scales. We start on here, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. It's the first octave of our A natural minor scale. And here's A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. Second octave of our A natural minor scale. That's where we started on our index finger. We play the same notes, but starting with our pinky. Got C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Here's the second octave, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Second octave of the C major scale. And so basically, this pattern is, again, both of those. So if I start in here and I'm just jamming on something, I'm focusing around the A, then I would basically call that my A natural minor scale. If I focused around the C's, and I keep coming back to those C's, I would call that our C major scale, because that's the tonal center of, you know, what we're working on here. We keep coming back to those C's. So we're going to use that to kind of help us with moving all our scales into different areas and stuff. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take this pattern, we're going to move it down over to here. And again, if you haven't played that other video where I'm moving around in the different keys and you can't do that yourself, then go back and do that first, you know, before you come over here. It's really, really important. So assuming you did, let's take a look. What I'm going to do here, just for visual reasons, is I'm going to pretend this is a fret, and I'm going to play my index finger in that fret. Now you're really just playing the open strings, but again, for visual reasons, I'm going to play it like that. So take a look. Notice how it's the same exact pattern. So this is our major. So I'll do the minor first. So we got, here we go. Did you see how that went through? It was the same exact scale as this. I just went and moved it down here, used my imaginary fret here, a little bit over here. See how that's the same exact pattern? So, but what we're going to do here, we can start on the C right here, and it'd be the same thing. See, it's the same exact pattern. So, but what we're going to do though is we don't want to be using this right here, our fingers right here, and focusing on using these fingers. We're going to change the fingering a little bit because we don't have to fret these at all. So here we go. So I'm going to use these two fingers instead, and each one of these our fingers is going to have their assigned frets. So whatever note we play in those frets, we're going to keep that coordinated with the fingers we used. So here we go. Start here, and then we use the open strings. Reach over that. Back down. So there you go. There's that whole pattern. And again, we're not really going to call this pattern 1 of the G major, A natural minor. We're just going to call this pattern 1 of our G major scale. You just got to know that this can also be called the E natural minor scale too, if you start playing on the E. So there you go. There's your first pattern in key of G major. You're going to do just like you did in all the patterns in the key of C major. You're going to go through the full scale pattern, and then you're going to go in and play the 1 octave minor and major scales that are contained within. And yeah, it's not going to be any different. You know, your E natural minor pattern, you just simply go through that scale. Go from E to E and then continue on to the next E. Again, major, you're starting right here. And starting here. And there you go. There's your second octave of your G major. So yeah, that's it. Just go through your full scale and then your 1 octave scales within. And as I go along, I'm not going to go through every single 1 octave scale. You should already have, you know, if you know the patterns, you should already know the configuration of the scales and be able to go through the 1 octave scales. Everything is going to be the same exact way in all these different scales. So if you're not sure how those 1 octave scales work, then go back to your C major scales and then figure that out, and then transfer them into our G major scales. And you know, you can check this out in the PDF too, because I'll include all this in the PDF. So all right, that's it. We're done with this one. So work on that. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, we'll see you in the next one. All right, see you then.